right, Brian McMillan racing in the door, punching the time clock. It was
no one had to know that.
Just reporting the news, Brian.
live. Yeah, we report live. We tell the truth here, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, Ty Miller, welcome aboard.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Ty Miller, our Palm Coast City Councilman, who promoted as managing to stay out of the spotlight. And so we got the spotlights on you here today.
All right.
I talked to a lot of people, and they go, who is that guy, whatever, and I go, that's Ty Miller. And they go, oh, is he? So anyway, let's kind of introduce Ty Miller to the world here, even though everybody ought to know that voted for you. Some did, some didn't, whatever. But there was a lot of exposure to it. So just kind of like introduce yourself. Ty Miller, people move here that don't know who you are. So go ahead.
Sure.
Not a lot of people didn't vote for you. It was a pretty good margin, wasn't it?
I did pretty well for myself.
I think you know down to the vote, probably, don't you?
Yeah. I mean,
you're a stats sports guy, so
I am.
That's on your back of your baseball card is like what your votes were, right?
Be an interesting card. Political trading cards.
Yeah.
So moved here in the late 90s, 98, summer of 98, actually. So was introduced to Palm Coast with some fires. Immediately had to evacuate when I moved here. Moved in with my aunt, uncle, went to FPC, graduated FPC, went to University of Florida for my undergrad. Dropped out after 9/11, joined the Marine Corps, was in the Marine Corps for about 5 years, went to Iraq and Afghanistan several times.
Thank you.
Yep. Got out, came back, tried to catch back up with my education, so finished my undergrads at UCF, and then rolled into an MBA at University of Florida. From there, I joined a Fortune 500 company, was lucky enough to have some offers from some Fortune 500 companies, joined a company called Cognizant that does tech delivery projects for other large companies, so Fortune 500 clients, Coke, CarMax, companies like that. So worked with them since then, still work for that company now. Moved back to Palm Coast and have lived here for, I want to say, 5-6 years in the most recent iteration. And, wanted to get involved, so ran for city council. It seemed like at the time there was kind of a chance there to participate and maybe win. And help out the community. So ran and was successful. And so been on Palm Coast City Council for, 8 months, around there.
Family?
Yeah, so wife and 2 kids, 2 stepkids. So got married here a year and a half ago. Newlywed, so to speak, and, just enjoying family life, and looking forward to trying to help out the city because, this is the city that we're raising our family in.
8 months. Seems like longer.
I know.
Is it a military thing in the DNA where you feel a duty, a call of duty to serve your community, your country? Do you kind of have, is that rooted in your service to our country?
Well, I think it's, the type of person that volunteers to join the military also volunteers to serve in the community and things like that. So it's something about that person's character, I think, that is consistent amongst people that join the military.
And like where conflict is, not scared.
Yeah, I think that it's certainly something where you're willing to participate in that and knowing that that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can avoid the fear of, I was not in the military, but I imagine that there's moments of fear, but the question is, do you, do it anyway?
Well, in terms of our training in the military, fear is good. It keeps you paying attention to what's going on. We call it the pucker factor or whatever you want to call it, but, you're engaged in paying attention to everything in those moments when there is fear.
What's the most fearful thing about being on city council?
I think it's probably that unscheduled time at the end because you never know what's going to happen.
There's been some zingers in the past 8
things
months.
not on the agenda, so to speak. And my philosophy for that is that if you have something like that, the request should always be, let's bring it back, at another meeting and actually robustly discuss this while people have a chance to be prepared rather than, getting this kind of last second thing thrown at you where you're asked to make a vote on something that you haven't had time to think about.
Well, I mean, we're always looking for new people to run for office here. We got to, kind of recruit new good leaders and things. But it was kind of interesting, like with the or even like first responders, where you run toward the gunfire, you run toward the where the action and where everybody else is fleeing it. These are the people that run to it, and I think that's something in the DNA, because everybody, that's not in everybody.
Yeah, usually, at least my thoughts on it are, and you're not going through this thought process when it's something like that, but you're trying to provide a solution, right? Or you're fixing something, and when there's a conflict of some kind, you move towards it to try to fix that problem rather than shrink away.
Okay, well, we have a lot of good things happening in Palm Coast. We'll talk about last night. You were out and about. You had a town hall. Where was it, and how many people showed up? What was the conversation?
Yeah, so it was at the Southern Recreation Center above on that top deck. Had about 30 people show up, not including staff. So it was a good turnout. We had like 12 RSVPs, so more than double who had RSVP'd showed up. So that was good, and gave a short presentation on some of the recent doings of the council in the city, and then had a lot of Q&A. I think we went over 2 hours. So had a lot of discussion, a lot of questions, a lot of follow-up questions to my answers to those questions. So it was good. I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. I did as well, getting feedback from the residents on different topics and things like that.
Are these people that you don't see at the podium?
So we had a few that are regularly at city council, but the vast majority were not kind of what I would call like the constantly engaged group of people. So it was good to have people asking questions. A lot of people, we encourage them at the end to participate in Citizens Academy, which is a great resource to try to understand how the city works and a lot of the statutory and regulatory requirements and things like that. But a lot of people don't know those things, so they ask certain questions, and then you explain it to them, and they say, okay, that makes a lot more sense now. I didn't know that's why the city did it this way. And so that was good to help educate on some topics.
Are there things that you have learned? I mean, a lot of times people run for office and they haven't necessarily been through all those Citizen Academy and everything like that. I think most people probably haven't when they run. And a lot of people say, well, I'm going to go in and make, I want to make these kind of changes, but how to do that sometimes, then when you get in office, your eyes are open to different things. You learn, was there anything that you learned when you got into office that you felt like?
Oh yeah. Almost everything is new and learning, whether it's impact fees, restricted funds, enterprise funds, working with outside boards to get funding like the TPO. The perception from the outside is snap your fingers, and the only reason a road isn't getting repaired is because they just haven't thought to do it. But that's not the case. There's a ton of challenges in terms of funding and working with organizations, the state, things like that. During my campaign, I had not gone through Citizens Academy. I actually signed up, but it was right during the campaign, the fall version of that. So I was tardy quite a bit while running the campaign. So I did not complete that. And it certainly would have been helpful if I had been able to do that maybe in the spring instead. But yeah, there's a ton of information, but yes, constantly learning. I think the year 2 version of me on city council will be exponentially better because of that, learning new information about how all this works and having that experience to try to, form policy based on that experience.
Mm-hmm. You have a full-time job also now, right?
Yes.
And a full-time family.
Yes.
And a part-time city council job. Mm-hmm. Is it really
part-time? Yeah.
I mean, really, how many hours? I mean, not that, you count them, but, and I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get to is people really need to appreciate actively involved elected officials here, because, I mean, I can't even imagine, you got to almost add up all the thinking time, not just physically being there. People look at, they only come in like, once a week. But the amount of prep and reading and being prepared for things and just thinking about it when you could be thinking about other things.
Yeah. I mean, just from a standpoint of review of information, we just got the link for our next agenda packet. I think it's 780 something pages. The one from 2 weeks ago was over 1,000. So at least for the business meetings, typically we're getting, upwards of 600 pages to consume and kind of think about and form our questions about and meet with staff about, ask them those questions up front, get some answers, form new questions. It's a constantly evolving thing. Then you take into account, resident calls and concerns. I get emails from residents about, myriad of issues within the city. So I always try to return those emails. If it's something specific about their own personal property or something in a neighborhood, I try to drive out there. So that takes time. Then you have joint meetings, so joint city county meetings, meetings with staff, meetings, with charitable organizations and other things within the city that, they always want an elected representative there as well. It does take a lot of time.
What were some of the questions that people asked you last night at your town hall?
So some of the questions, we had a slide on impact fees, so that was a good Q&A. There was also a lot of talk about economic development and what that meant. Some questions about us increasing the budget, and then some talk about land use with SB 180, SB 784, and Live Local, and those things that are affecting how we handle land use within the city.
Well, okay, let me ask you about Senate Bill 180. I heard all different kinds of things about it, and there's some confusion with it. So so give everybody the staff bottom line cliff notes on what is Senate Bill 180.
So I'll caveat this with, this is my understanding of it. It may not be absolutely correct, but my understanding is that it evolved essentially as a emergency response piece of legislation. And the goal of it was to prevent restrictions on rebuilding your home after a natural disaster. So if your home was demolished by a tornado or a hurricane or whatever the case may be, we couldn't impose restrictions. Say we had a citywide moratorium, we couldn't restrict you from rebuilding your home. I think the problem is now in the interpretation. It seems to not make any differentiation between rebuilding and building. And so the other part of that is it's designated certain counties within the state as having been under an emergency condition in the recent past because of the hurricanes last year. And the basis of that is within 100 miles, I believe. And so that qualifies, I believe, every county in the state. So it's the entire state, even though it's specifically for certain counties based on that criteria. The other thing is it makes it 3 years, I believe, and the intent of it is that if there were to be a new emergency this year, it would extend that timeline. So what it's done based on that interpretation, that there's no differentiation between construction and reconstruction, is essentially created a ban on any moratoriums within the state for the next 3 years, and then potentially longer if there's another state of emergency that occurs in the future, which is likely to happen in the state of Florida.
So there are a couple of moratoriums, like in Volusia, I believe. Right. So are those just null and void now?
Well, there's going to be a legal process because I think some cities are, believe this to be unconstitutional, especially the ones that have gone so far as to have a moratorium. So I read an article about Ormond Beach, and they had, I think they passed a moratorium after this was actually enacted. So the Ormond, one of the cities in Volusia. So that's going to go through a legal process. Obviously, there's going to be some sort of suit brought, and it'll probably have to go to the state Supreme Court to rule whether it's constitutional.
So is this a and also, I mean, I really hate it where people polarize developers as bad guys, because without developers, we wouldn't have anything. They're the risk takers. They're the ones that get the investment. They're the ones that infuse the money into the community and all that. But so when you say developer, I just hate how it's kind of been branded as a negative thing when we need these, other.
There's also at least from my perception here, there's a broad group of people that we're terming as developers that I don't think that term applies, right? I think when people talk about the negatives of some development, and they're talking about people or companies that are not local, right, that are coming in, kind of extracting some value out of the local area and then kind of exiting out, right, and taking that money with them versus, I think we have people that are termed as developers here that are local. They've lived here for 30 or 40 years. They provide a lot to the community. So I think you're right that it's a very broad stroke that's used in that term to be negative when it doesn't really apply to everybody.
I mean, when you could start with ITT. Like ITT had to come down. They had this massive. I mean, you talk about all the different developments that we 5,000 homes here, 2,000 homes there. And they came in and said, we're going to build 50,000 homes. Like, right. What? How is that even possible?
And they built, they didn't do like a typical development model where, you're doing it in phases and building the infrastructure. And they built all the roads all at one time, all the pipes.
So you might be the only house on your road with just woods all up and down.
And that's how it was in the 90s. We moved in, I moved in with my aunt, and they had just finished building their home. They had rented in the early 90s here. And it was on Burnell off of Bird of Paradise. And I think we were the second house on that street.
Talk about an incredible, daring, bold move. I mean, there's now, 50 years later, we can look back and say like, well, they probably could have done things a little differently.
Probably why the process has changed.
There's a lot of things that could have been done differently. But now out of those, say, 40,000 homes, there's only 7,000 lots left or 50,000 homes. And so you could say in some ways like, wow, that really worked.
I mean, it was a massive undertaking for sure. At the time, ITT was, my understanding is it was pre-antitrust stuff going on in the 80s, and they were one of like the largest 10 companies in the world at the time as a conglomerate. So they had a little capital that they could throw around to be able to do something like that.
Well, I mean, and throw Bobby Ginn in. I think we should have a Bobby Ginn Appreciation Day. And and he told me, wow, he goes, I wouldn't show up for it. But still, you look at these are risk takers. They're people that have a vision. Look at Hammock Beach Resort and all that. Here's Bobby Ginn. I mean, we wouldn't have things like that bring upscale people. Yeah. And all those kind of things.
That's a draw for sure.
But it's not only that, but like think of the property values that the hammock provides to the county, which then helps everyone else with public safety and everything else, And so, there's a...
Yeah, that area is the single largest, tax base in the county.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So let's close out here. Any questions or comments that surprised you or, made you feel warm and fuzzy that, there's some love in Palm Coast?
Well, we had some commentary at the end that just, was a thank you, that, despite all the drama, we see that you guys are working. And so we appreciate that. And so that was nice to hear. A lot of the commentary that we get at council is negative. And so it's nice to sometimes hear the positives, the realization that, maybe 10 or 15 people that are negative at the council is not necessarily representative of the county or city as a whole, because there's 110,000 people that aren't showing up to city council meetings. So,
All right. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back. Mayor Norris is going to have his own town hall at the VFW. You going, Brian?
I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
Right. You got invited?
I asked if I could go, and he said, yeah, I approved you. So,
all right.
I mean, there's a controversy about that a little bit, but
we'll talk about that.
All right.
We'll be right back.
I hear people say our best days are gone. Our people want united, can't even get along.
Locals know where locals go.
For the best happy hour on the beach every day from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. You'll love these drinks.
Johnny D's Beach Bar and Grill. We're waiting for you.
She's Carla.
And that's Alan.
If you don't know who we are,
now you do.
We're the owners of your local Benjamin Moore paint store.
Next time you're thinking about painting, think about us. Benjamin Moore, corner of Old Kings and Utility Drive.
Palm Coast.
Configuring the Bluetooth, deciding who controls the music, remembering where you parked. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with an auto owner's insurance independent agent, getting the right coverage for your vehicle doesn't have to be one of them. So you can get back to more important things, like remembering if you're on the 3rd or 4th level of the parking garage. That's simple human sense.
Hi, this is Donald O'Brien. In Flagler County, call the Hayward Brown Flagler Agency at 437-7767.
Flagler County is an awesome place to live, and we have so many exciting things to look forward to. Hi, I'm your Flagler County Commissioner, Leanne Pennington. Already we've been able to accomplish many things you may not be aware of. We've funded flood prevention efforts. We've protected environmentally sensitive land throughout the county. We've created new economic development incentives that will create new jobs. And we're one of the safest counties in the state of Florida. I'm Commissioner Leanne Pennington. Thank you for your support.
9:30, Free for All Friday on this July 25th, 2025. Ty Miller in the studio, our Palm Coast City Councilman. And, I kind of like your style because, you don't get out there and ramble. But when you say words, they're calculated and kind of pointed to it. And anyway, I think, we have a great variety of personalities on the city council with them. What's the relationship with the vice mayor, for instance, Teresa Pontieri? Give an overview, describe to people that don't know Teresa Pontieri.
Well, I think that at a minimum, she comes very prepared. She's a lawyer by trade, so does a ton of research, asks a lot of questions, which is great because for me, at least, I'll go through our backup data and, point out the things that I'm thinking about. And a lot of times those will match up with what she is asking about. But sometimes she'll ask a question that sparks a new question for me that I wasn't thinking of. So I think that's great to have that, atmosphere when we're reviewing, contracts and different things to be able to feed off of each other in terms of preparation and scrutiny for those contracts to make sure we're doing the best job we can for the people.
All right. Dave Sullivan.
Dave's great. I think he's been kind of a reasonable middle ground in the council by being added, things where he says, I think best practice is that we only approve this if all of us approve it, things that make us think and say, okay, well, we can't be as extreme, maybe as our own personal opinions. And I think that's a good thing to kind of pull everything to the middle.
Some wisdom.
Right.
Okay. Charlie Gambaro.
Charlie, I feel like with Charlie, a lot of the things that the issues we agree on, I've seen that he's been willing to change his opinion if the rest of us have a slightly different opinion on that, which I think is important to be able to work and get something through without, say, kind of tearing it apart or going on, just saying I'm sticking on this and I can't. Change my opinion or work with you. So his ability to work with everybody and meet in some sort of middle ground that I think is best for all has been a great addition.
Okay. Well, it's an interesting dynamic on any board where, because I remember I've covered some of the meetings here and there and not lately, but I remember on the Ralph Carter Park issue, he was kind of taking one stance and everyone else was kind of like, no, we're not going to make big changes to the lights because of, a small group. And he was really adamant that something needed to be changed because this was a policy and all these other things. But yet at some point you have to say, now that there's been a vote, I got to move on.
Right.
And say, it's sort of like, the society voted for, the president. And we're not changing that right now. We're not changing, I'm not going to go back and change everyone's mind and revote everything over and over again. So you kind of have to live with what the majority said.
Yeah,
at
you
least
can't
temporarily
relitigate everything, and then on top of that, you can't
unless it's house colors. Then we can just keep going.
Well,
back.
we've never been able to get to that final vote, I guess, is the issue with that. But you can't. To that point, though, I think that's been something that's been bogged down and continuously taking time that should not be taking time. And so you can't continue to bring up and kind of rework things that have already been decided, at least, on the same council. Obviously, if new council comes in and they have a different direction for things like paint colors or whatever, they could decide.
Which is what you guys did. It's a whole new council practically. So, it's kind of natural that these things get recycled.
Well, this was the actual issue of the paint colors was brought by, I think,
true.
Kathy Hyder.
Yeah.
Originally. So it had finally filtered to the top of the agenda.
Right.
When we first got in.
Thanks a lot, Kathy.
That Kathy.
Yeah, right.
Kathy does great things in the community.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I think she was, mostly responding to a resident's concern about it.
Right.
So she was trying to help out a resident by bringing it up and debating it. And so it was kind of early, and it was also when Teresa was not there. It was a workshop that I think there was only 3 of us there, me, the mayor, and Councilman Gambaro. And so we made a decision at the workshop on that. And then she asked if we could talk about it again because she wasn't there. So that's why it came back up. And then she had a different stance than the 3 of us. So, and then you add in Dave. So now another opinion. So it's kind of this evolving situation.
All right. Mayor Mike Norris.
Yes.
We're talking about everybody. So here he is. You gave your observations of all your other members on the council. Mayor Mike Norris.
I think, in reality, a lot of the issues that we talk about, me and the mayor have very aligning ideals. I think the biggest one that we differ in is building and development, and whether it requires a moratorium or whether a natural slowdown is more appropriate, whether regulations or impact fees are the process that we should go through rather than that. But for the most part, in terms of his management of the meetings, our ideals in terms of, the vision for where we see the city, I think we align on a lot of different things.
Okay. All right. Are we burning out our city manager, Lauren Johnson? God love her.
It's a concern. Obviously, there's a lot going on. Typically, she would have an assistant city manager, if she was the permanent manager, not the acting manager. And it's been going on for a long time. So that situation. So that's definitely a concern. I try to help out as much as possible and make things easy in terms of my asks of her. And so, hopefully we can find a resolution to that situation in terms of a permanent city manager sometime in the near future.
Okay.
What does that mean to you, near future, like within the next year?
Ideally before the end of the year.
Before the end of this year?
Yeah. Because then it will be coming up on almost 2 years of acting, because I believe it was in the spring.
So there's been, I know there's, the city put out the, call for more resumes.
The job post, yeah.
And there's been a lot, I think, that have been submitted. I'm not up to speed on where we are on that. Are you? Do you know?
So we get
what's the next step?
We get links for the weekly submissions for applications that we can review. I'm not sure where we are. I believe it was a 90-day time span that we initially approved. So I'm not sure where we are in that 90 days, but we have to be getting close. Just in my head, it feels like it's been that time. But again,
then you have to.
The 8 months feels like 2 years, so maybe it's only been 40 days.
But then you'd have to, like who's going to moderate, because you're not using SGR, right?
Yeah.
So would you hire another company to kind of help winnow that down and coordinate the process, or is that an internal thing somehow, or how do you? I'm
not sure. I think the intent of this was to go away from paying somebody to do this and try to do it as lean and the work by us as possible. I know obviously we have budget, so that's going to be taking up a lot of time as well. So I don't know if that's going to happen at the same time. We probably have to get through budget before we can go forward with that. But
charter review.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's, it's in the charter. We're, locked in, but that's the game plan. Those are the rules. Those are the laws created for ourselves to follow. What charter review rule changes are priorities to you that you think should happen?
Well, I don't necessarily have any priorities, but I think the whole thing is fairly boilerplate. It's almost like a template charter, right? And there's a lot of things specific to us in the city that I think we need to make more narrowly defined. And we need to remove the opportunity for as much opportunity for varying interpretations of what that means in the charter, so that we all know what it means, and there's no argument about that. Because even with the mayor's lawsuit regarding the charter, there is some ambiguity there. So I can understand a different interpretation. Where I diverge from that is when a bunch of legal experts tell me it's one way, then I defer to them, because that's their job, kind of, so to speak, their expertise. So removing some of that ambiguity would be great. I think, we have to decide in terms of what there's been talk of, should it be a strong mayor format? Should it be a different type of format? we have to decide who we are as a city, right? And so
you think it should be a strong mayor?
What's that?
You think it should be a strong mayor form of government?
So that was brought up, I think, by...
I guess we should probably define that. What does that really mean? This is a weak mayor form of government that we have where the city manager runs all the operations.
Right.
The mayor is only one of 5 votes, just like everybody else.
So my understanding would be that the mayor would have more unilateral decision-making authority in terms of similar to what the city manager does now, right? In terms of staffing, stuff like that. There would still be policy decisions made by the council as a whole, but then the mayor would have the leeway to enact those. So it was brought up at council, I think, in public commentary early in the year. And my point back was, I don't necessarily have a view either way. My point is that, that all sounds good when it's your guy or girl in office, right? That person can make all these decisions, but when it's somebody else that you don't agree with that's in office that is making these unilateral decisions, now it doesn't sound so good. And so a board kind of softens that, right? It gives a diversity of opinions where you can come to a majority.
So what do you think, Brian?
I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with the system that we have. I think it's kind of a tough time to even be talking about that when we don't even have a full-time city manager. We have an acting city manager. And again, I think Lauren Johnson's doing a great job, but I don't know. I think you wouldn't want to make that kind of a change probably until you have reset the whole city manager.
I think it's good as it is. I'll answer my own question I asked you on it. And the reason why is exactly what's going on is why I think there's some wisdom. I mean, our charter is kind of like the Constitution. And I think our forefathers had some wisdom, even though there's boilerplate to it, but there was wisdom into all of that type of thing to not allow one powerful person to run, arrogantly ripshot, through and making it their particular city. So I like the balance of representation of the voters across, more than just one power.
Yeah, but I mean, you could also make the argument that the majority voted that person in, regardless of who that person is, they represent those people. We see that with, the president at that level. And I think that's part of the confusion, I think, with a lot of residents is they don't understand that we have this council format and what would be termed as a weak mayor format. So they believe that when they voted for mayor, they voted for the chief executive of the city. And that's not the case. It's essentially, the chair of a board.
I think a big problem with a strong mayor form of government would be, we don't even have, at least not many, possible prospects to be a city manager in our city. We're doing a nationwide search for that. And if you're saying that we need to always come up with a mayor who could kind of be the city manager at the same time, we just don't have we don't have enough people who have those credentials that could do it, the expertise. So there's a lot of education. I mean, like this is the beauty and the sort of craziness of our system is that you don't have to really know anything about the city government to get elected.
Right. But to run a city, that's a tall task. It's not simple because of all the regulatory requirements, the statutory requirements. People go to school for years to learn how to do this, and they work within local governments for 20 years to get to a spot where they have the experience necessary to run a city. And so, me off the streets, I could get elected and be running the city and not really know how to do that.
Yeah, as a representative of the people and kind of help steer the policy because the people want it this way, but how to actually do it, how to make sure the budgets are legally compliant and all this other stuff. Got to have experienced staff.
A lot goes into it. A lot goes into the staff.
Weak mayor, right? Weak mayor.
Well,
we like weak mayor.
Well, you don't want to be offended by the title, but a real good, strong city manager is what we're looking for. Where everybody's like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is why. Meeting with the council people in advance so they get the whole game plan to it. It makes sense. And let's get, let's be progressive. Let's make decisions. Let's get things happening and going and not talking over and over about paint colors on houses. To me, I'd be like, just leave it alone. Thank
Well,
you,
we're going to get that.
Kathy
We're going to get
Hyder.
that taken care of, so
And
you don't
we'll
have
see.
to listen to
We'll
it
see
anymore.
about-
As
we'll
long
see
as,
about that.
Is it
as
true
long as
that-
Brian doesn't post any more houses with polka dots on Observer, that's not part of the ordinance, Brian.
And what if you're colorblind? Should you be able to vote? I don't know. I
I
leave it
am,
alone.
so I think technically.
Well, and then people say, "Well, Palm Coast, it's not Palm Coast." I don't think there's anything wrong with comparing Palm Coast to an HOA, and the reason why, that's why people moved here. It's a city of high standards. We don't like our neighbor with his car up on blocks, working on some jalopy or the boat over there, and. So everybody that made the decision to move here because it's a community of high standards, that's who we need to protect, not somebody new coming in, going, well, up north, I'd be able to have this, I'd be able to do this. And well, there are other places you can go to do that. But don't change our rules here that has gotten us to where we are.
We don't like change.
And we
fear change.
Yeah.
Well, the only counter argument I'd have to that is, well, there's probably a lot, but the one I would say is that I don't think that very many people, when they move to Palm Coast, really know what those rules are.
No, I think
there's no systematic, you need to, get informed of what all of our HOA like rules are. If you don't like them, then go ahead and move somewhere else. But, now that we're all on board and you're signing in, you're good. They don't know that. Even people sometimes who move into HOAs themselves get in there and
don't
say
review the
what?
rules. Yeah.
I can't put a bounce house in my backyard for my kids, party.
No fences.
Yeah, all kinds of things like that. So I don't think that really people make that choice because of the rules.
Well, what about the people?
I think subconsciously maybe they do. They see the beauty of the neighborhood. They don't know the rules, but they see that this is a nice looking neighborhood. So that's why they move.
My car on blocks in the driveway is not a problem. It's just yours that kind of becomes a problem.
Yeah.
So in terms of the talk about the paint colors, I think it's slightly overblown. Really, the ordinance that we have right now in place is a lightness versus darkness scale. And then we have 5 or 6 select colors that you can't have, your pinks and magentas and things like that. What we've done is basically said, we don't care if it's light or dark. And that's the only real change that's effectively happening. Because in my eyes, there's lighthouses that are approved that I think are ugly. And there are dark houses that could be approved that are not allowed, that look great. And I know everybody has their own opinions about that. But I don't think light versus dark colors as the only change is what's going to ruin Palm Coast in terms of the aesthetic.
So what if we do nothing and just let what is in place be in place and everybody move on?
Well, that's not going to happen. So.
That would be the easiest thing.
I mean, so we talked about that. We talked about, I think the vice mayor advocated for basically that LRV number being lowered but not being abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
I think the mayor advocated for, let's just get rid of all the rules, in terms of all the colors, or at least that's what came out of that last, the meeting prior to me being back to talk about it. And I think there wasn't a common ground there, so to speak. So we rehashed it. We removed the motion to get rid of all, and then I remotioned for what we originally had asked for 6 months ago. So we're back at that. And I think the council, based on the discussion at the very end of that, is, we're going to move on. We're going to finish this and not talk about paint colors anymore.
You can say all you want about it being a piddly little thing that we shouldn't waste a lot of time on. But clearly a lot of people care
have
about
opinions,
it. It's
yes.
part of the identity of what Palm Coast is all about. So I think it's important.
All right. Okay.
So
right.
there.
I'm just tired of hearing about it. That's all. All right. We're going to take a break. We will be back. Our guest this morning, it's Ty Miller, our Palm Coast City Councilman. We're talking about the city we live in, we love, and a lot of great things happening. We're going to check in with Brittany Kershaw here. She's got some good news for us coming up.
All right.
And we'll return on Free for All Friday.
Hey, do you know somebody who'd like to move to this area? It's a tough housing market out there right now. I know. I've been doing this for 40 years. I know all the builders, the neighborhoods in the area. I know where the $1 million mansions are and where to find the good starter homes. Give me a call anytime. I'd be happy to help. I'm Memory Hopkins. Everybody knows me around here, from lighthouse to lighthouse. My cell phone is 386-931-9464. Memory Hopkins Real Estate. Let's talk.
No matter what time you reach out to Craig Flagler Palms Funeral Home and Flagler Memorial Gardens, when you call, you'll talk to a real person on the phone. Every loved one is treated as a special person, cherished by family and friends. Hundreds of families each year choose CFP. Learn more about all their services at dignitymemorial.com.
This is attorney Michael Politis. You would do anything to protect your family, right? Then make sure that you'll still be able to take care of them even after an accident. Don't depend on a careless stranger to have the insurance you will need to take care of your family. They won't, but you can. Don't wait. Get uninsured motorist coverage today. Protect yourself, protect your family. Politis and Matavina, the Justice Attorneys. Offices Palm Coast, Ormond Beach, Port Orange, and Orange City.
Chelsea here. Summer is sizzling and so are the savings at Renewal by Anderson. For a limited time, buy 4 windows in our patio doors and receive the 5th free. Plus enjoy 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 18 months. As temperatures rise, so do energy bills. Upgrade to Renewal by Anderson's exclusive Fibrix windows, 2 times stronger than vinyl, remarkably energy efficient, and custom crafted to perfectly fit. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation today. Restrictions apply. License number CGC 1527613.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. July 25th, Free for All Friday. I'm David Ayers, Brian McMillan, my co-pilot over there, and our special guest in the studio today, Ty Miller. We're talking about Palm Coast, what's going on. So you're going to Mayor Norris's town hall.
Yeah, I am.
You got the
that's where the news is going to be. So I'm going
I heard there's going to be free beer and free refreshments. So
I don't know anything about that, but I
might just go for the free beer and free refreshments.
It's at the VFW? Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
I can't remember.
Yeah,
there's the cantina there.
Yeah.
It's specifically
I may or may not have attended from what time.
They have beer at the VFW.
It's specifically, Mayor Norris declined to participate in the city's town hall series. I don't really understand why exactly, but he said it was because he said, I think I read this in the News Journal article, that he said that he can afford to put on his own town hall, so he didn't want the city to have to pay for it. That's taxpayer dollars.
Oh, that's nice of him.
I can see that.
Have the city have to.
There's some justification to that, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
the town hall that I had last night, I don't think it cost the city any money. It's an existing facility.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
did you me and a PowerPoint?
Did you have free beer?
No. So we'll work on that next time.
And requiring the media to request a press pass, is kind of, if you're running an event and the draw is that you are the mayor, it seems like you wouldn't want to try to exclude anybody. So that does seem like kind of an odd request to request a press pass to go.
By sunshine, you can't exclude anyone, is my understanding.
I mean, if it's the mayor alone
at a private,
it's a private thing.
If he's renting it.
So we have a requirement when acting as, a public official, similar
if you're acting as.
So like your public official Facebook, like I have my personal page and I have one for Ty Miller, Palm Coast City Council.
Yeah.
I can't block anybody from my council page. I can't prevent them from seeing communications from me and things like that. So I don't know the legal interpretation of that for a town hall, but that that certainly applies in other avenues of media.
Yeah, I don't know honestly what the legalities of it are, but in my opinion, we don't get a lot. Honestly, we don't get a lot of access that's unscripted outside the city council meeting. And so I think that my goal is build bridges of understanding. That's what the Observer is for. And so trying to understand what Mayor Norris, thinks and believes about the city in a different format, I think is good for the city. He is the mayor. We invited him to share his vision for the city in the Observer. I haven't heard him respond to that. Maybe he still will, but if not, then I'm willing to go to him.
And he's always invited on Free for All. Right?
Very good.
Yeah, we're here, right? Just us guys. Hey, let's see. Brittany Kershaw, what's going on at City Hall today on this beautiful Friday?
Yeah, good morning. Happy Friday. We are ready for hopefully a beautiful weekend, and we've got some really fun stuff coming up next week, so we're getting ready for all of that.
All right. Well, give us some stuff.
All right. So this month, our Food Truck Tuesday was unfortunately rained out, so we're going to have it this coming Tuesday on the 29th from 5 to 8 right here at Central Park and Town Center. So everyone's welcome to come out, enjoy the food trucks. Our beneficiary this month is the City of Palm Coast Summer Camp Scholarship Fund, and that's in honor of Parks and Rec Month, so that'll be a good time. And then 2 days later on Thursday, we're going to have the Palm Coast Concert Series with the band Landfall, and they're a Jimmy Buffett cover band.
Okay.
All right.
All right. No,
Yacht
that's
rock.
cool. Yeah. No, that's
it'll be
great.
fun.
I mean, these are the kind of things that make people make you feel good about living in Palm Coast, and and people complain, well, how come you're spending millions of dollars on parks and rec on trails I never will walk on? And, why do I have to pay school taxes? I don't have any kids. You got all those kind of people that don't really see the big picture into, why they are here and why, everybody is here. But anyway, I do appreciate all the things you guys do and provide entertainment, whether you go to it or not. Makes you feel good to know that people are enjoying it. And so that's quality of life, I guess. Right, Brittany?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Anything else before we let you go?
The last thing is I just wanted to let everyone know that, utility and storm or wastewater have been a huge issue in the past, and we are having a ribbon cutting for wastewater treatment plant 2 on August 4th at 8:30 in the morning because that project is complete, and we're ready to double the capacity at that facility from 2 million to 4 million gallons a day.
A ribbon cutting at a sewer plant, right?
Yes, it's going to be great.
Utility guys they love all this
It's a
stuff.
hot topic.
Yeah. If you're in
It
that
is.
business, it's like we just most of us it's like we just want it to work.
Exactly. Well, it's going to work even better. So there you go.
All right, Brittany, thanks. We appreciate all you do.
Thank you, guys.
All
Have a
right,
good weekend.
Brittany Kershaw at City Hall. I'm excited about the promenade, the progress on that at Town Center.
Well, yeah. So talking about those events that are happening in Town Center, Food Truck Tuesday, and at the stage, the concert series. That's the vision for it. Is that there's constant activity happening there. That's walkable. Community events, things like that. The Y is potentially going to be in that area as well. There's several other commercial properties along that strip there that will allow for more things like this to happen. I think as it gets built out.
Is the Y going to happen? I mean, it's like I know the state funded some money. The school board's pushing back $3 million.
State didn't fund very much. It was 125.
Yeah, I think
or
it was kind of some
150,000.
design work.
Oh, how much was it?
125,000.
I thought it was more than that. Okay.
My understanding is that the Y is going to happen based on what the Y has said to us. I think John Walsh came and gave the presentation at City Council, and he said there, we can bond it if we don't get it from you. So I think they're capable and willing to go through with it regardless if they get the funding. They're just looking for help, to try to make it a little bit easier in terms of momentum.
So with that in mind, I think it would be great to have a Y. I think all these things build community spirit. They, that's what community means. It means you come together and you understand what you have in common as a result. But with the Y, if the answer is if the city and the school board don't contribute their $3 million, it would still happen anyway. Why not just let them make it happen without this public money? I don't understand exactly what's at stake with the public money. Would that delay it by 5 years or something, or would
definitely? I think that was one of the points that they made in that meeting was that I think John used a catchphrase that let's turn coming soon into happening now versus so we don't want that long timeline. In terms of my view on it from a city perspective and taxpayer dollars going into it potentially is that currently the Frieda Zamba pool loses roughly $500,000 a year. Part of this proposal, and nothing's been signed or worked out totally, but part of this proposal is potentially them taking over management and costs of Frieda Zamba as well. So if this happens, then we are saving $500,000 a year. So if we put in, say, $2 million 4 years in. We've recouped those costs, and now we have a great Y. So in terms of an ROI and money, it makes sense to do it, to bring that. And it's something that's sorely needed. Frieda Zamba is our only resource for that, and it's very old, outdated. A feasibility study that was done on it was that it will cost more to refurbish it than it would to just tear it down and rebuild it. And, it would be far more than $2 or $3 million that we would contribute to the Y. So the alternatives are far more cost prohibitive.
So maybe it makes more sense for the city to kick in the money than the school board?
Well, they have a lot of benefits too, right? They'd have a lot of usage of that facility from their swim teams and things like that, and after-school programs and all sorts of stuff.
So would that mean that they don't have to pay to use it then? If they would, they're a partner and kick in $3 million, do they get free use of it?
I think that was what their proposal was at school board, that they would have free use of it. Like, it's not contingent upon a contract where they have to pay to use it. I think the intent is a partnership where it's allowed that they use it for free.
Okay. And city would also be able to use for certain things. I'm sure that would be worked out.
I think we already have an MOU with schools, and I don't know if it would extend to the Y, but any facilities they're using and vice versa.
All right. Well, we got more questions on it. We got a little bit of time, but we don't have time now. We got to go. Anyway, Ty Miller, final comments from you to all of us.
No, just wanted to say thanks for having me on and giving me a chance to talk about what's going on in the city. I'm always, for the residents out there, I'm always available via phone call on my city phone. If you want to give that out over the air, David.
What is it? What is it? I don't have it.
I don't know it off the top of my head either. But it's on the city website, and then as well via email.
The city cell numbers are not on the city website.
And you can call the main line there and talk to Kendra, and she will give you my city number.
All right. Very good. Brian.
I don't know. People are going to say this is double standard here if we don't give out Ty Miller's
well,
city
if
cell
I
number.
had it, I would. Yeah. Hurry up. All right. While he's looking it up.
While he's looking it up.
Yeah, go ahead,
I'm
Brian.
going to give a first of all, thank you for serving our country and our community. And just as school's going back, the Observer wants to help out the schools. So this is what our Observer fundraising is all about for the next couple months. We're going to extend it through toward the end of October, but any driveway subscription, we're going to donate $20 to a school of your choice. So you go onto the website and you start, subscribing. You can put a check mark by a school in town.
Good.
And we'll make a donation.
And recently you did the food pantries?
Yeah, to the food pantry, Jerry Dolliner in Ormond and Grace Community in Palm Coast, who made donations to them.
Awesome.
So that was great.
All right. So how do they sign up online? Palm Coast?
Yeah, if you just go to observerlocalnews.com/subscribe, you can just click on which paper you want, and then the next screen is pick your school. So,
do we have Ty Miller's cell phone
city
number?
That's right. Yep.
Owned by the taxpayers.
That we pay for.
That's
yes.
right.
All right.
I pay a tiny penny per year for this cell phone.
You might be overstating how much you pay.
Probably.
Area code 386-276-4017 is my city phone. So feel free to reach out, text, call, leave a message. I will get back to you as soon as possible with any issues that you may have.
See how easy it is? We got to go. Have a great weekend. It's going to be beautiful here in Flagler County. Get out and enjoy this great community we live in. Thank you for your service to our country and our city.